Good morning and welcome to our live coverage of Starlink Group 8-6 mission from Space Coast, that is from PAT Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. We hope you all are doing fine and excited about the upcoming launch. Hello, my name is Dipta Maitra, performing the commentary for today's mission launch. Before moving on to mission details, firstly, on behalf of AstroYonder team, we express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone for being a part of today's launch. We really appreciate you being here. Big thanks to our amazing YouTube community for being here, as we provide detailed coverage of space launches, complete with extensive stats and thorough insights. We are super excited bringing you the live coverage of SpaceX 85th overall launch and the 82nd Falcon 9 launch of this year. We are awaiting for a Falcon 9 liftoff at 3:48 a.m. Eastern Time from Cape Canaveral for a northeast launch for SpaceX Starlink mission. The Starlink mission 8-6 will launch 21 Starlink satellites, including 13 with direct-to-cell capabilities satellites to low Earth orbit. Today's Starlink mission marks SpaceX amazing 377th overall launch, with the 365th Falcon 9 launch to date. This is the 58th dedicated Starlink mission of the year for SpaceX, and prior to today's launch, SpaceX has launched 1,267 Starlink satellites so far, over 57 flights this year, and overall 6,917 Starlink satellites to date. SpaceX is currently targeting a liftoff time of the Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station at 3:48 a.m. Eastern Time, 7:48 a.m. UTC, which corresponds to 12:48 a.m. Pacific Time on Wednesday, August 20th. Before moving on, would like to welcome one of our moderator here, Pop Tripika. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope that you are enjoying your stay at Kennedy Space Center. Hopefully you are not staying there, but around there. Also just now joining us one of our another moderator here, Fairmaid. Welcome, Fairmaid. Hope you are doing fine. Thanks for tuning in. Although today we didn't got the launch for the Polaris Dawn mission. Let's see, the dates are yet to be confirmed by SpaceX. Well, glad to know that, Pop Tripika, you're there at the spot. Hopefully we will be getting some images from you and have a good viewing experience. We are glad that you went there and you will be having a rocket launch to witness in real. And for that you can forgo our live stream, you can watch it on live with your eyes only. Yes, also Fairmade, we are also looking forward to those launches. Let's see, today we have two launches. Hopefully I can cover them. And sadly we didn't got the Polaris Dawn, which was my favorite as of now. So let's move on and let's take a look at the payload details for Starlink Group 8-6 mission. This launch marks the 58th dedicated Starlink launch for this year. A quick fun fact: at the inception, the two identical Starlink test satellites called Microsat 2A and Microsat 2B were launched on 22nd February 2018. Upon orbital deployment, they were renamed to Tintin A and Tintin B. So Tintin A and Tintin B are the first Starlink satellites to be launched. Now Starlink satellites are built at SpaceX Satellite Development Facility in Redmond, Washington. And today's launch consists of 21 version 2 mini satellites, which includes 13 dedicated satellites with direct-to-cell capabilities. The version 2 variant of the Starlink is too large to fit inside a Falcon 9 fairing and is meant to be launched by Starship. To address this issue, SpaceX modified the original version 2 blueprint into a smaller, more compact one and named it version 2 mini. SpaceX also indicated they would build satellites of the second generation constellation in two different but technically identical form factors. One with the physical structures tailored to launch on Falcon 9, that is version 2 mini, and another tailored for the launch on Starships, that is version 2. Each Starlink satellite is equipped with powerful 5 advanced Ku band phased array antennas and 3 dual band parabolic antennas utilizing Ka and E bands to provide increased capacity. These antennas utilizes altogether the Ku, Ka and E band frequencies, which allows Starlink to provide high bandwidth connectivity, that is 4 times more capacity per satellite than earlier versions. Each satellite features a dual solar array with a size of 52.5 square meters, which unfurls to a wingspan of 100 feet. Also, it has a high capacity battery to provide power to the payloads, and the two solar arrays are also aeroneutral, which enable faster on-orbit maneuvers. Each Starlink satellite contains 3 space laser transponders, that is optical inter-satellite links for intercommunications, which operates at up to 200 Gbps, which together across the constellation form a global internet mesh that can connect customers anywhere in the world, also enabling the spacecraft to transmit data without ground stations, providing truly global coverage. Each Starlink version 2 mini satellite weighs nearly 800 kilograms, that is 1763 pounds. Starlink satellites are equipped with efficient ion Hall effect thrusters powered by argon, which enable Starlink satellites to orbit raise, maneuver in space, and deorbit at the end of their useful life. Today's payload will be placed in an orbit with an altitude of 297 kilometers with an inclination of 53.16 degrees. But this configuration does not apply to every Starlink satellite. As we know, Starlink satellites are placed in different configurations based on their group. Starlink satellite uses custom-built navigation sensors named as Star Tracker that surveys the stars to determine each satellite's location, altitude, and orientation for best possible broadband throughput. Starlink satellite contains 4 reaction wheels, providing agile attitude control for the vehicle. The hot spare configuration ensures high reliability operation, and its aluminum flywheel is fully demisable at the end of life. Also worth mentioning, the Starlink satellites are equipped with an onboard autonomous collision avoidance system for avoiding collisions with other spacecrafts and space junks autonomously, which utilizes the US Department of Defense debris tracking database. Well, speaking of SpaceX direct-to-cell Starlink satellites, direct-to-cell is a technology developed by Starlink team. In easy words, it's like having a cell phone tower in space. This technology allows the cell phone to connect directly to satellites. Imagine we are in a remote area where there is no cell tower nearby. Normally, we would not get any signal on your phone. But with direct to cell, our phones can get a signal directly from a Starlink satellite overhead. You don't need to make any changes to your existing LTE phone or download any special apps. It is designed to work with common LTE standards with absolute no changes to hardware, firmware, or special apps required. Whether you are on land, lakes, coastal waters, or even in the air, as long as you can see the sky, you can get a signal. It provides connectivity in remote regions, giving you the peace of mind when you need it the most. With the recent inclusion of the South Sudan, Madagascar, and Sierra Leone, let's have a look at the countries where Starlink's low latency, high speed internet is now available. And as of the current status, Starlink is delivering its high-speed, low-latency internet services to more than 100 countries and territories. Few months back, Starlink made its first video call on X using unmodified mobile phones connected to Starlink direct-to-cell satellites. Earlier, we witnessed textual communication via satellites. Starlink plans to launch the service with T-Mobile later this year. Now let's take a look at the flight record for the booster supporting today's 8-6 mission. The most mature booster among its siblings, with tail number 1062, will be supporting today's mission, marking its record-breaking 23rd flight. Today's booster with tail number 1062 was a record breaker previously, and today it sets the stage for another record as this time it will be the first time a Falcon booster launches for its 23rd time. Today's supporting booster with tail number 1062 has 22 previous flights in its record, including missions like GPS-3 Space Vehicle 4, GPS-3 Space Vehicle 5, Inspiration 4 on behalf of the Shift 4 payment CEO Jared Isaacman, who will be getting launched as the commander of the Polaris Dawn mission. Next, it supported the Axiom Mission 1 for the Axiom Space, Nilesat 301, an Egyptian communication satellite, OneWeb Launch 17 for Eutelsat Group, which provide broadband satellite internet services, Arabsat BADR-8, a communication satellite for Arab states, and 15 Starlink missions. Now awaiting its record-breaking 23rd flight just minutes away. The last mission supported by today's booster was Starlink Group 10-3 on June 27th of this year. It's been 62 days since the last supporting mission by this booster. Previously, with Starlink Group 10-3 launch on June 27th from Cape Canaveral, SpaceX achieved a record for the first time. A Falcon booster that's of today's with tail number 1062 launched for a record-breaking 22nd time. This same booster previously set a record with its 20th and 21st flight for SpaceX. So you can say that this booster with tail number 62 is absolutely made for breaking the records. Today it will be making a 4th record in the booster fleet. Currently, booster with tail number 1061 and 62 have the highest number of flights with 22 flights each among the booster fleet. Now we have a request for you guys. Hitting that like button helps YouTube's algorithm catch the drift and brings more space lovers and rocket buffs our way. Excuse me. This kind acts of you will help us to build a community with amazing space enthusiasts like you, and also consider subscribing to us. We would be totally amazed to have you on board. Your support means the world to us, which inspires us to work more hard to provide live coverages filled with stats and thorough insights. Let's have a look at the chat here. It's all our pleasure, Pop Tripika. We are really happy for you that you went there to witness this rocket launch. Hopefully you can witness the Polaris Dawn mission as well. And there is no worries, you can change your operator if you want to. You don't have to stick with T-Mobiles. Maybe they will be launching with other operators as well, so you can switch to that, and also you can switch to T-Mobile as well. And yes, of course, as I mentioned, that this booster is absolutely a record breaker. Fourth time today it will be creating a record for a booster for its flight. So, and also, yes, it do have a biggest history of flights supported by it. Although right now currently both the booster with tail number 1061 and 62 are having similar number of flights, so they have the similar number of missions supported by them. But today this booster for today, it will be exceeding one more mission than the booster with tail number 1061. Now let's have a look at the bar graphs presenting number of Falcon 9 launches each year. Before today's launch, SpaceX completed 81 successful launches of the Falcon 9 so far this year. With the recent Starlink 10-5 mission launch back on August 20th. The launch marked the 12th launch since the Starlink 9-3 mission failure. Now with the recent Starlink 10-5 mission launch, they have 33 more launches than half of the total launches made last year. With the previous Starlink 9-1 mission launch from Vandenberg, they equal the number of launches made from the year 2022. Now with today's launch of Starlink Group 8-6 mission, the bar graph shows 82 Falcon 9 launches so far this year, which is 21 more than the launches made in 2022. They have already done more than the half as many launches as they did all of last year, and it is only being 7 months and 28 days of this year. Just 14 more launches and SpaceX will be reaching the same number of launches made in last year, as SpaceX remains on course to achieve their ambitious target of 140 to 148 launches by this year's end. Let's go ahead as we progress through the countdown and review the milestones that lie ahead for us on this Vandenberg flight. This Cape Canaveral flight. At T-minus 38 minutes, countdown begins at this point when SpaceX launch director gives the go for the start of propellant load. If everything looks fine, prop load begins at T-minus 30 minute mark with the loading of rocket grade kerosene or the RP-1 on board the first and second stages of the Falcon 9 rocket. At the same time, LOX load, that is the super chilled liquid oxygen, will be loading on board the first stage, and then at T minus 16 minutes, which will be the next event that we are looking for here, that's when the second stage liquid oxygen load begins. At T minus 7 minutes, that's when the chill down of 9 Merlin engines gets underway. It involves flowing a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps, which helps protect the engines from the risk of thermal shock and damages during the startup sequence. At about 6 minutes before liftoff, the first stage kerosene tank should be full. In a T minus 4.5 minute, the strong back retract sequence begins. The process begins with the clamp arms underneath the payload fairings opening up, followed by the transporter erector or the strong back reclining about 1.5 degrees away from the Falcon 9. It remains in that position until liftoff, at which point it rapidly pulls back to clear the way for the Falcon 9 rocket's vertical ascent. Just for a quick knowledge, you might be knowing that the strong back reclining process at Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center differs from that at Vandenberg. Here at Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center, we recline the strong back about 1.5 degrees, whereas at Vandenberg, we recline it 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9. The strong back positioned alongside the vehicle, also referred as the transporter erector, fulfills multiple functions. It supplies propellants, provides air conditioning, pressurization gases, and electrical power. Additionally, it transports the Falcon 9 to the launch pad and positions it for the launch. Here is an image on your screen showing how a strong back or the transporter erector transports rockets. Although on your screen you are watching Falcon Heavy being transported, but the process is similar for the Falcon 9. At T minus 3 minutes mark, the first stage liquid oxygen loading should be complete, followed by the second stage liquid oxygen load wrapping up at T minus 2 minutes mark. At that point, the Falcon 9 rocket is fully fueled with 1 million pounds of propellant. At T minus 1 minute mark, the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. And in the final 60 seconds of the countdown, the control of the flight system, that is the launch sequence, is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers. If everything looks good, at T minus 45 seconds mark, the SpaceX launch director will give the final go for Falcon 9 liftoff. Now at T minus 3 seconds, the engine ignition sequence start command being issued by the onboard engine controller. And finally, at T0, we will have liftoff. If all 9 Merlin 1D engines ignite and are healthy, flight computers will give the command for the hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9. Currently targeting a liftoff time of the Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral at 3:48 am Eastern Time, 7:48 am UTC, which corresponds to 12:48 am Pacific Time, on Wednesday, August 20th. Referring to Paprika from the chat, one of our moderator who will be witnessing the launch in real. It's good that the weather is good there, but yes, of course, it's a little humid and hot there in Florida as per the weather I am observing, although I never went there. But anyways, even that can be weird if it's about a SpaceX launch to be witnessed. So enjoy your viewing experience there. Now let's go ahead and briefly step through the trajectory for today's Starlink mission. Falcon 9 leaving the pad from Space Launch Complex 40 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station with a batch of 21 Starlink satellites with 13 direct-to-cell satellites on board for a northeast trajectory heading into low Earth orbit, that is to the 8th shell of second generation Starlink mega constellation indicated by that green line on your screen. The red line you see indicates where the Falcon 9 first stage will land after stage separation, just a little later leaving Florida's Space Coast. This is going to be a drone ship landing using autonomous spaceport drone ship. For today, it's A Shortfall of Gravitas drone ship, one of the two here at the East Coast, which means that the first stage booster with tail number 1062 flying for its record-breaking 23rd time will be returning, heading out to the drone ship landing. This will be the 81st successful landing on A Shortfall of Gravitas drone ship to date. The planned booster recovery is approximately 618 kilometers with estimated fairing recovery approximately 700 kilometers downrange. And the stage 2 debris re-entry will be in the south of Australia. Currently there are 3 in SpaceX drone ship fleet. One of the 3 drone ships here in Florida, that is A Shortfall of Gravitas, will be supporting today's mission, and another is just with the instructions, also stationed here in Florida, while of course I Still Love You is stationed in California. We expect the addition of a 4th drone ship likely by the end of this year or early next year. Previously, A Shortfall of Gravitas drone ship was planned to support the upcoming Polaris Dawn mission today, but now we don't have any specific date confirmed by SpaceX for the Polaris Dawn mission launch. Recently, with the Falcon 9's return to flight on the Starlink 10-9 mission launch, a new member joined SpaceX recovery vessel fleet on its inaugural mission, completing fairing recovery sea trials, the Go Cosmos recovery vessel. Now, speaking of the fairing recovery, SpaceX will utilize the recovery vessel Bob to retrieve them from the Atlantic waters. The 2 halves of the payload fairing will be recovered slightly farther downrange, approximately 82 kilometers from where the first stage lands on the drone ship. After they will smoothly splash down with the guidance of the parachutes. SpaceX manufactures the fairings in-house with the total cost of two halves is nearly $6 million. No wonder that SpaceX aims to recover the fairing for repetitive use, mirroring their approach with rocket boosters, upholding the motto of reusability and sustainability. You can see on your screen how a fairing recovery looks like. Although the recovery vessel on your screen is Doug, but today's supporting recovery vessel is Bob. The other recovery vessel, Doug and Go Cosmos, here at the East Coast, is currently awaiting its next assignment. Let's have a quick look through the launch timeline for the Falcon 9 rocket passing these events following liftoff. At t plus 1 minute and 10 seconds, Falcon 9 will pass through max Q, a point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Couple of different events coming up in rapid succession. First will be at t plus 2 minutes and 26 seconds, where first stage main engine cutoff will occur, that is MECO, followed by a major milestone within 3 seconds at t plus 2 minutes and 29 seconds, where first and second stage will separate from each other. Just after 7 seconds later, second stage MVAC engine will ignite for the first time during today's flight, that is SES-1 at t plus 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Coming up next at t plus 2 minutes and 59 seconds mark, Falcon 9's payload fairings will be jettisoned, exposing the payload to the vacuum of space. At t plus 6 minutes and 12 seconds, the first stage entry burn will begin, lasting for 22 seconds up to 6 minutes and 34 seconds mark, ending the entry burn for Falcon 9's first stage. Next major milestone at t plus 7 minutes and 59 seconds, the first stage landing burn will commence, which will orient and set up the first stage for SpaceX iconic precision landing. At t plus 8 minutes and 22 seconds, the first stage will land on the drone ship, A Shortfall of Gravitas, for 81st time overall, marking SpaceX 342nd overall booster landing to date. The second stage MVAC engine will shut down, that is SECO-1, for the first time in today's flight and enter into a parking orbit at t plus 8 minutes and 39 seconds. T plus 54 minutes and 47 seconds, the second stage MVAC engine will reignite for a quick 2-second burn, that is SES-2, and turning it off at t plus 54 minutes and 49 seconds, that is SECO-2, which will set up the batch of 21 Starlink satellites deployment at approximately t plus 1 hour, 3 minutes and 41 seconds. Now coming to some stats related to today's mission launch. Today's launch marks 377th SpaceX overall launch and the 58th dedicated launch of Starlink satellites for this year. This marks the 365th Falcon 9 launch to date. And today is special, the 23rd record-breaking flight of this particular Falcon 9 booster supporting today's mission with tail number 1062. Today's launch marks the 82nd Falcon 9 launch of 2024 so far and is SpaceX 85th overall launch of this year, including the third and fourth test flights of Starship and one Falcon Heavy launch. We are expecting the next fifth integrated flight test of the Starship probably early September, although the dates are yet to be confirmed, and SpaceX is undergoing through an license modification from the FAA, because this time they will be attempting the booster catch with the launch tower, so that needs a license modification. This is SpaceX 311th Falcon booster reflight to date, meaning the launch of a booster that has flown at least once before. Although there is a thing here I would like to mention, that I don't know for what reason previously we saw a inaugural launch of a booster with tail number 1085 for the Starlink 10-5 mission, but SpaceX did counted it into an account of this booster reflight and increase the number by 1, but actually it should be 310th Falcon booster reflight to date. But we are sticking with the SpaceX stats about this, so this will be the 311th. Now moving on, it will be the 202nd orbital launch for SpaceX, launching from Space Launch Complex 40, and will be the 257th overall orbital launch from this pad. With this mission success, SpaceX will have a remarkable 6,938 Starlink satellites launched to date. Moving on to some reusability statistics. This launch marks 297th Falcon booster reflight to date. Although once again would like to mention you that this should be 296th, but as SpaceX is reflecting on its website that this one will be the 297th, so we are sticking with that. This will be the 81st landing on A Shortfall of Gravitas drone ship to date, 23rd landing of the first stage booster with tail number 1062, with this mission's first stage landing, which brings the milestones of the 268th overall drone ship landing, marking the 323rd Falcon landing and the 342nd overall booster landing to date. Speaking of drone ship landing, let's look into the stats for drone ship landings prior to today's mission. It is worth mentioning, among the drone ships, A Shortfall of Gravitas has a flawless record with 0 unsuccessful and 80 successful landings out of 80 overall attempts. In comparison, Just Read the Instructions has encountered 3 unsuccessful landings with 88 successful landings out of 91 overall attempts previously with Starlink 8-3 mission. While Of Course I Still Love You has experienced 7 unsuccessful and 99 successful landings out of 106 overall attempts with the previous Arctic satellite broadband mission. This positions A Shortfall of Gravitas at the forefront of the successful and unblemished droneship landing attempts. Also, please note that only these droneship landing stats which I mentioned here now are excluding today's mission. These are prior to today's launch. So in that case, only one number will be increased in the record of A Shortfall of Gravitas for its 81st successful landing. Let's have a look into some key stats for SpaceX launches in this year, including today's Starlink 8-6 mission. With today's mission launch, SpaceX has a total of 85 launches this year, and out of those, 58 are Starlink missions, including one from today, 25 non-Starlink missions for commercial and government organizations, and 2 Starship launches. The recent non-Starlink mission supported by Falcon 9 was the Transporter 11 and Maitra 2 missions. One of the previous non-Starlink missions, that the GOES-U mission, was supported by the 10th Falcon Heavy launch. SpaceX reused booster for 79 times in those mission launches, showing their commitment to sustainability and reusability. Now, if we look into the geographical distribution, we get they have 56 launches from the East Coast, with 16 launches from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center and 40 launches, including today's one, from Space Launch Complex 40 here at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. On the West Coast, they have 27 launches, all from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. And there were 2 launches from Gulf Coast at Starbus back in Texas for the Starship 3rd and 4th integrated flight test. As for landings, they will be nailing it today 83 times this year. Most of the landings are on drone ships, with 65 successful landings, 22 on Of Course I Still Love You, 17 on Just Read the Instructions, and 26 on A Shortfall of Gravitas, including one from today. And for ground landings, they have pulled off 18 of them, 11 times on Landing Zone 1, previously with the Maitra 2 mission, 2 times on Landing Zone 2, and 5 times on Landing Zone 4 with recent Transporter 11 mission. Prior to today's launch, the success rate for ground landings is 98.67%, with 74 successful landings. For droneship landing, the success rate is 96.39%, with 267 successful landings, and the overall landing success rate is 96.88%. Longest stretch of successful mission in a row prior to last mission failure, that is the Starlink 9-3 mission, is 334 back-to-back successful missions, that is from Iridium 1 to Turksat 6A mission. Today's mission is the 30th launch since last mission failure, that is the Starlink 9-3 mission. Most launches in a calendar quarter to date is 36 launches in the second quarter of this year, and the most launches in a calendar month is 13 launches in May, again in this year only, that is in 2024. Moving on to this year's orbital launches, including today's one. Here we are having a pie chart. The United States is dominating with 98 orbital launches, including today's mission. Launch comprising a substantial 64.1% of the global total. Recently, on August 11th, we had a successful Rocket Labs Electron launch for Capella Space, deploying the Acadia 3 satellite, which also adds to the number of US orbital launches made this year. China follows closely behind, accounting for 24.2% with 37 launches. With the recent launch of Long March 7A on ChinaSat 4A mission, a group of communication satellite on August 22nd. China plans setting a record-breaking 100 space launches in 2024, including lunar and station missions. While Russia maintains a steady pace with 9 launches, making 5.9% of the pie. On the other hand, Japan has 4 launches so far, making 2.6% of the pie with recent H322S launch vehicle. India having 3 launches with recent launch of ISRO's SSLV Flight 3 mission, marking India's third flight for 2024, taking 2% of the pie, and Iran having 2 launches, making 1.3% of the pie. As we can see, it's a tight competition, but undeniably United States and China are clearly leading the space race this year. This one is for the last stats here we are having for you guys, and we are also nearing to the webcast to begin. Here we have a pie chart showing 2024 orbital launches by rocket variations, including today's launch. Falcon 9 with 82 launches, including one from today, is leading the pack and holding the largest share at 52.6%. which accounts for over half of the total. Rocket Lab, which has completed 10 launches, representing 6.4% of the pie. Roscosmos Soyuz 2 rockets with 8 launches so far this year, which is 5.1% of the pie. Long March 2C and 2D, both having 2.6% of the pie and 3.2% of the pie respectively. And lastly, we got this pink slice, biggest slice of the pie, which is a mix of different rockets including Ariane 6 Falcon Heavy, Atlas 5, Delta IV Heavy and others. They got 47 launches in total, which is 30.1% of the pie. Today's launch marks the 155th orbital launch globally. Now we are nearing to the webcast to begin. Adding value to your viewing experience.
Tanks are pressing for start of Strongback lower.
We heard that the call out. We are right now pressurizing the tanks. We are adding a little bit of gas to stiffen up the tanks so that the clamp arms can smoothly open up with a solid structure holding the Falcon 9.
Strongback lower has started.
As we heard the call out, the process is now underway and you can see the clamp arms around the stage 2 are now coming to open. You are seeing the clamp arms opening up here underneath the payload fairing. Yes, we got a close-up view here. The transporter erector reclining 1.5 degrees away from the vehicle. While watching the live view of Falcon 9, a couple of important steps were completed. The Stage
1 LOX load is complete. Stage 2 LOX load is complete. Gas launch closeouts has started. Falcon 9 is in startup. Go for launch. T-minus 30 seconds at cannon. Seconds. T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
And we have a successful liftoff. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
Chamber pressures are nominal.
Stage 1 engine chamber pressure is nominal. We got this from the call out. T plus 29 seconds into the flight. Falcon 9 on its way with 21 Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit. Next we should get a call out for the power and telemetry.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Good call outs there. Power and telemetry all are nominal. We are into the throttle buckle, throttling down the 9 Merlin engines, preparing for the period of maximum dynamic stress coming up. As we got the call out, we have gone supersonic. We have exceeded Mach 1 on the Falcon 9. Falcon 9 reaching the max Q. We are through the period of maximum stress on the vehicle. We have throttled the Merlin engines back up to full power. Next up, we should be hearing a call out for the MVAC chill.
MVAC chill has started.
As you heard the call out, we have started the process of chill down of the MVAC engine on the second stage prior to its ignition just after stage separation. Coming up, 3 events in rapid succession: the shutdown of main engine on first stage, that is main engine cutoff MECO, followed by stage separation and ignition of the second stage MVAC engine for the first time in today's flight, that is SES-1, which will boost the payload into low Earth orbit. So let's hear the call outs. Also would like to welcome Ed Osdale. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you will be enjoying the stream.
Makeup.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
We just got the call outs for all the back-to-back milestones. Now the stage nitrogen thrusters is now beginning to reorient the first stage, and the 4 hypersonic titanium grid fins started to slowly begin deploying by the command issued by flight computers. Next up, we will be having a call out for fairing separation.
Fairing separation confirmed.
We got call out that the fairing has successfully separated. We are looking right now a view of the first stage continues under the force of gravity and steering with the help of the grid fins. It will continue to rise towards the apogee before descending back towards the landing on droneship A Shortfall of Gravitas stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. Second stage, meanwhile, in the middle of its 6-minute burn, is on its way into the parking orbit with the 21 Starlink satellites payload on board.
Both vehicles are on a nominal trajectory.
Call out for good performance and trajectory for both the first and second stages. So far, the launch has gone flawlessly. The first stage has completed its job and it's on its way back. The second stage is performing at full capacity, providing us the stunning view from space. We are now gearing up for the first stage landing on droneship. At this phase, the flight stage 1 uses only grid fins for steering as it returns to Earth. The grid fins helps orient the Falcon 9 during re-entry and guides its descent. We are currently viewing the second stage, but you may occasionally observe bursts of nitrogen gas on the left side.
Continue to follow a nominal trajectory.
On the left side of your screen from the first stage for altitude control. This nitrogen gas burst helps position the vehicle as it heads back to the droneship. We are glad, Prop Tripika, that you finally witnessed the launch. Now hopefully you will be, we hope that you can see that jellyfish effect for the Falcon 9 there also. That will be a cherry on the cake. But really we are happy for you.
Both stages on a nominal trajectory.
Next up, we will be having a call out for stage 1 entry burn. That entry burn should be lasting for 22 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there is a confirmation. We have just lit 3 of
Stage
the
1
Merlin
FTS has saved.
1D engines on the first stage. You can see now we are rapidly slowing down the vehicle as it enters the Earth's atmosphere. And as mentioned, this burn should last just around 22 seconds. And there we go. There's confirmation of shutdown of the entry burn on the first stage. We also got the call out for stage 1.
Both vehicles following a nominal trajectory.
FTS being saved. It means that the re-entry burn of the stage 1 has been accomplished. Again, we got good call out for both the stages following nominal trajectories. Also would like to welcome Simon. Thanks Simon for visiting us after a long time. Welcome back.
Stage 1 transport.
You just heard that the call out. Stage 1 is now traveling slower than the speed of sound as it heads towards the landing. We'll be having the landing of the first stage just about 60 seconds away from now. Next call out will be for the stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There we go, great views of that landing burn with the center E9 engine now lit.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
We are slowing down the vehicle very rapidly. Should be seeing those landing legs deploy any seconds now.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Landing leg is being deployed. And there you have it. We have successfully made the 323rd landing of an orbital class
Go.
Falcon 9 rocket. Next we got the SECO, and following that event we will enter into the 46 minutes of coast phase as the vehicle ascends to its target orbit. And these were the callouts we were waiting for: second stage engine cutoff, SECO, as well as the confirmation of a good nominal orbit. Today's launch marks SpaceX 377th successful mission, with landing marking their 342nd success. Would like to thank all of you joining us. Especially would like to thanks Ed Austell, Simon Haga, Pop Tripica, and Fairmed. Simon visiting us and joining us today after a long time. Hope you are doing well as well, Simon. And yes, I saw that Pop Tripica it got tipped, and for that maybe the Capcom didn't mention stage 1 landing successful. So let's see the outcome. And thanks Fairmade for being here. Hopefully we can make the next upcoming launch of Starlink 9-5 mission as well, and we will see you there. And with that we will wrap up our coverage for now. Be sure to check out our social media handle on X for the latest happening in the space industry and updates on upcoming launches. Hope you enjoyed the stream. We appreciate every one of you joining us here for today's launch. Wishing you all a great week ahead. Thanks for watching. This is AstroYonder Live and me, Dipta, signing off for now, and we will see you next time.